When Captain Elias Thorne stepped across the threshold of the Exosonitis quarantine block, the station's sensors immediately registered a massive pressure spike. Humans weigh far more than they appear. Our density is the result of evolution on a planet with gravity that most Union species consider a death crush. Vkrit's report, he does not simply walk. With every step, he drives his feet into the floor. His muscles are in a constant, violent struggle against gravity. This means that even at rest, a human generates more energy than a Talon does during a full sprint. He is a living generator of kinetic destruction. Xenobiologists spent weeks agonizing over X-ray scans. Bones, this is not mere calcium. It is a porous matrix that is constantly renewing itself. If you break a human's bone, Vkrit wrote, it doesn't just knit back together. It becomes thicker. The human body perceives trauma as an instruction for an upgrade. Ligaments. Stronger than industrial carbon fiber. They are capable of restraining muscles so powerful they could tear their own frame apart if the brain ever removed its limiters, the hysterical strength phenomenon. The galaxy was horrified by what humans referred to as breakfast. Acidity. Human gastric juice can dissolve zinc. We carry a biological weapon inside our own bellies. Omnivory. A human can consume what others consider rocks, poisons, or biological waste. Vkrit recorded Thorne eating an apple. He tore the fruit apart with his mineralized protrusions, teeth, and swallowed seeds containing cyanide. He didn't even notice the poison. Human blood is a thick, opaque solution of iron and active killer cells, leukocytes. Immune response. Their internal microorganisms are in a state of constant, total war. The human body is a battlefield that never knows peace. Therefore, any alien virus is simply disintegrated by human T cells, which are accustomed to far more formidable opponents. Scars, reinforced armored tissue. Humans are literally covered in patches of toughened skin. The greatest fear was reserved for cortisol and adrenaline. In a state of stress, a human ceases to be a sentient being. They turn into a self-guided missile. Vkrit ran a simulation. If a human is backed into a corner, their brain shuts down the centers for logic and fear. All that remains is a biological murder computer. They will not stop until the threat stops moving, or until their own body falls apart from the sheer strain. The council downloaded data from the internet. What they saw led to mass resignations in the sociology department. Art, they paint pictures of war. They write songs about broken hearts and death. They find aesthetic pleasure in tragedy. Video games, these are genocide simulators. A human child spends hours virtually destroying thousands of enemies. This is their grooming. They are born with the instinct for extermination. Humor, they laugh when someone falls or sustains damage. Their joy mechanism is inextricably linked to the concept of physical pain. The galaxy decided to build a wall. Billions of stealth satellites created an illusion of emptiness. Let them think the stars have gone out. Let them gnaw at each other on their tiny planet. It is the only way to save the universe, the architect declared. For 500 years, humans fought wars, built and destroyed empires, never knowing that billions of eyes, filled with horror, were watching them from the dark. In the year 2890, humanity invented the warp drive, but not based on gravity. Instead, it was based on the brutal tearing of space. When the ship Hercules, commanded by John Thorne, activated its engine, it didn't just pass through the veil, it scorched a hole through the masking system 3 light-years wide. The world saw Earth. And Earth saw the world. The Galactic Council decided to destroy the Hercules before it could return with news. They sent a fleet of drones. Result, the drones were stripped for scrap metal in 15 minutes. The humans didn't use complex laser weaponry. They simply started firing slugs of tungsten accelerated to relativistic speeds. They are throwing rocks at us at the speed of light. Admiral XAX screamed. This is not war, this is barbarism. Thorn landed on the citadel. He walked through the golden halls of the council in a dirty jumpsuit, holding a beer can and a sandwich with spicy sausage. He approached the architect, who was 10 times his age, and clapped him on the shoulder. From this friendly gesture, the architect nearly crumbled to pieces. "Look, buddy," Thorn said, exhaling the scent of garlic and hops, which felt like a gas attack to the alien. "We noticed you closed us behind a curtain. That wasn't very polite. On Earth, we punch people in the face for that. But we're feeling nice today. We just want to know, do you have a decent gym and a bar around here? Because we're starving for some new experiences." Another 100 years passed. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy. It turned out that humans were far too lazy to manage boring alien bureaucracies. Instead, tourism, Earth became the extreme planet. Only the bravest aliens dare visit, inside Class A armored tanks. Medicine. Human doctors became legends. They can operate without anesthesia, because to them, our pain is just discomfort, and save lives where everyone else gives up. Sports, human Olympic Games, are now broadcast across the universe with the warning, "Do not attempt, lethal." Vkrit, now a digital god of the archives, wrote his final work. Humans are not a hazard zone. They are the yardstick of what life is capable of. We were too weak, too sterile. We forgot that life is a struggle. Humans came to remind us, the universe does not belong to the sentient. It belongs to those stubborn enough not to die. Now, when we look into the darkness of space, we are not afraid. For beside us stands a creature with metallic blood, simply waiting for an excuse to laugh in the face of death. When Vkrit first observed Elias Thorn through the surveillance cameras, he nearly declared a state of biological death. Thorn lay down, closed his eyes, and stopped responding to external stimuli. His breathing slowed, and his heart rate dropped to critical levels. "Is he dead?" the architect asked, a glimmer of hope in his voice. "No," Vkrit replied, studying the brain activity monitors. "He is in a state of sleep. It is a period where his brain deactivates consciousness to perform memory defragmentation and intensive tissue repair. But look at these neural readings." Vkrit displayed the graphs. During sleep, the human brain generated hallucinations of such intensity they would have incinerated the neural network of any other race. They call them dreams. These are reality simulations where they relive their fears and desires. Even when they aren't killing us in reality, they are training to do so in their subconscious. They are creatures that exist in two worlds simultaneously. When the veil fell, the galactic fleet prepared for an encounter with energy shields and plasma cannons. Instead, they were met with mass drivers. Analytical note from Admiral XAX. "We use pure energy that is dissipated by shields. Humans, however, use nuclear fusion to accelerate a chunk of iron or tungsten to 0.1 the speed of light. This is not technology, it is barbarism. When such a projectile hits our ship, it doesn't just burn a hole. It causes a molecular collapse of the entire structure. They don't fire at us. They hurl pieces of their planets at us. Furthermore, human small arms, specifically the AK series rifles and rail pistols, were classified as weapons of planetary genocide. A bullet fired by a human possesses enough kinetic energy to punch through 10 talons in a row without even slowing down. For 500 years, the Veil satellites created a spacetime warp. But humans, instead of surrendering, invented gravitational drilling. They didn't try to bypass the illusion, they decided to punch a hole right through it using the mass of an entire planet. Earth scientists installed gargantuan magnetic accelerators on Pluto. They literally turned the dwarf planet into a hammer that struck the fabric of spacetime. They've gone mad. Vkrit screamed, watching the instruments. They are risking the destruction of their own system just to see what lies beyond. That is their entire essence, the digital archive replied. If a human stands before a wall, they do not look for a door. They grab a sledgehammer. When alien scientists finally gained access to Earth's geological data, they realized why humans were so resilient. Atmosphere, saturated with nitrogen, an inert gas, and oxygen, a highly corrosive agent. Weather, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. Biosphere, 90% of species on Earth are either poisonous, predatory, or parasitic. Earth is not a cradle of life, Crit wrote. It is a gladiator arena. Every bacterium, every blade of grass there fights for survival. Humans survived there not because they were the best, but because they were the most brutal and cunning. Any paradise world in our galaxy would fall to a single terrestrial dandelion within a week. The Galactic Council attempted to study human culture to find common ground. It was a catastrophic mistake. Opera caused resonant destruction of crystalline bodies in the XIX race due to excessively high frequencies. Dance, perceived as ritualistic combat movements, causing mass panic among peaceful races. Culinary arts, the smell of seared flesh, which humans eat, forced an entire delegation of Talons to resign due to moral trauma. They cook meat over fire and season it with salt, a mineral we use to sequester hazardous waste, the ethics officer reported. They are not just monsters. They are gourmets of chaos. When Admiral John Thorne landed on the Citadel, he didn't just bring pizza. He brought the Declaration of Human Rights in space. The text was blunt. We are here. We know you feared us. We aren't evil, we're just very durable. If you try to lock us away again, we will dismantle your citadel for scrap metal by the weekend. Let's be friends, because you will not enjoy warring with us. We've been testing it on ourselves for 5,000 years. After 10 years of coexistence with humanity, Earth's new classification was officially ratified. Previously, it was Hazard Zone, Level 10. Now, it is Galactic Apex Guardians. Humans became the only species allowed to carry weapons in the council chamber, as their hands are already weapons, disarming them was deemed moot. They became teachers of survival, showing the galaxy how not to fear the dark. Do you know what the strangest thing about humans is? The old xenobiologist asked, watching a human child pet a domestic predator from another planet. What? They can destroy a sun, yet they weep when a small flower dies. They are the greatest paradox of the universe. And I am glad they are on our side. At the very end of the archive, a personal recording from John Thorne was added. We know we are the monsters of your world. But remember, we grew up in hell to build a heaven. And if you let us, we will build it with you. Just, please, don't try to drink our coffee. We don't want to have to bury you.